To kick off this webinar here, I want to go ahead and let Hope take it away. In today's video or kind of webinar, we're going to be talking about the Invest in Yourself Challenge a bit, how you can participate and win up to potentially $500 just for simply saving for your future, something that we love to do. We love to invest in our community members who invest in themselves. But outside of that as well, I'm actually going to be talking a little bit about the chase for yield in the modern environment right now with the central banks of the world doing what they're doing with monetary policy. It's really setting up a strong environment for not only Bitcoin as an emerging asset, but along with that as well, chasing different opportunities to find yield for your savings. As we've been seeing DeFi become all the craze, we're going to learn why that is later on throughout the video and the discussion. So Hope, if you want to go ahead and let people know some basic details, and then we'll take it away. It's nice to have you here.
Yeah, you too. Thank you so much for making the time, Nick. Everybody, a lot of you already probably know Nick. Nick is the founder of the largest YouTube channel out there for cryptocurrency, Data Dash. And hi, Michael. Said hi to me as well. And our fearless leader, founder, and CEO of Digifox. So we are super excited to have him here. If you guys have any questions, we're going to be doing a live Q&A at the end. That's honestly always my favorite part. But at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, there should be a Q&A box where you can submit questions. So as we're talking and going through the videos and the current news and everything, feel free to put your questions in there. And if you can put them in the chat, but they could potentially get lost there and it's harder to answer them. So it's just a lot easier for us to keep track of things if you put them in the Q&A box. But feel free to keep bantering in the chat. I absolutely love it. Nathan says he's tuning in from the Rocky Mountains, which is really, really cool. Something else actually we didn't do last time, but I thought would be really fun to do is like, I sent out the message that we were going to do this webinar, Nick, like a couple like days ago, and it said the top of it was, "What would you do with $500?" And it was just meant to be the title of the webinar, and I didn't know that people would actually answer me literally, and I got like 100, like 50 to 100 replies with like what people would do with $500, and I was like, oh, these answers are actually really good, and we have some really cool, like innovative, like people who are really oriented towards financial freedom and prosperity. And so if you guys want to, you can drop your answer to what you would do with $500 in the chat. We'd love to read them and kind of look into that, because I thought those answers were really cool that I got.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting, Hope, just to actually see people, I mean, for all of you who might have submitted that, we appreciate it, because for us, it's sometimes difficult to get a grasp of like, how much $500 can mean to someone, when you're working at a startup and you're thinking about features and all these types of different things. It's very difficult to sometimes see the human element. And that's one thing that we really hit at Digifox. I know, Hope, you can probably hit on it a bit, but we're really big about, bringing kind of a face to finance. We want to meet our community members. We want to be able to have a way where we can interact with you all. And most importantly, as we've kind of emphasized, invest in our community members. It helps us grow as a business, but also we're really not here just to be a business. We want to actually build something that has the incentive structure to help you succeed in your financial future. And that's really what we're here to do at the end of the day.
Definitely. And then one last thing I would have to say is if you guys have any support questions or anything like that, feel free to message us in the support section of your app or on digifox.finance in the lower right-hand corner. Just to message us on there. We like to keep all our support questions channeled in through Intercom. Like same thing, like idea with like having Q&A questions in the Q&A box. It just makes it a little bit easier to organize. But yeah, we've got some answers already from people who what they would do, like buy Bitcoin. Mike says he's watching from Puerto Rico and he would use the money to buy Link. I've heard a lot about Link lately, actually. Hickam says he would tokenize it, which is kind of cool. And Vincent says $250 will go back to Digifox for growth of business. Cool.
Awesome. That's incredible. I'll dive back into, if you guys want to keep on sharing what you would do with $500 just to get the discussion going, I'm happy to continue hearing from you all. I'll go ahead and I'll pop up my screen here. Is this coming through clear for everyone?
Yep.
It's coming through clear. Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, keep sending in your chat responses. I'll dive into that in just a moment. Just want to go ahead and we'll start off with the first topic here, and that's just to provide some details for those of you who want to know about it. We have launched our Invest in Yourself Challenge back in early September. We started really back on September 7th. And ever since then, we've given an opportunity for about the last 3 weeks to basically just put aside money for yourself and your future. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. In this case, it's very simple, no catches. But in this case, we're giving away money to people who are just simply investing in themselves. We want to support better financial literacy, people saving for their future. And the great thing is that with this Invest in Yourself challenge, there's no losing, all right? You're not going to lose anything. You keep your money. And along with that as well, you're earning interest and you have a chance to win on top of that. So I want to go ahead and we'll talk a little bit about how the Invest in Yourself challenge works, just to make sure you all know how to be eligible for it. There's still another few days here until the close of September to participate. And if you have any questions after this, again, where you're just wanting to get started and get going with it, again, you can always contact the customer support. So there's a video here that you can watch that we have on our website. This is a page, digifox.finance/invest in yourself. You can find it here on the actual website, digifox.finance. We've got a video here talking about some of the basic rules, but I'm going to go ahead and run through them real quickly. So for the Invest in Yourself challenge, we wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So we partnered with Celsius Network in this case to be our main deposit provider where you earn these high rates of interest. Right now, our interest rate is actually at 10.94% last time I checked, so almost 11%. And it speaks to the volume of demand that there is on the borrowing side for stablecoins in the cryptocurrency space right now. So there's this great opportunity that, again, depositors can really benefit from. So it's very simple. All you have to basically do is through one of our on-ramp providers or through crypto holdings you might own on an exchange or a wallet, deposit your stable coins or other ERC20 tokens into your Celsius wallet. Now, bear in mind, it's important to understand that there's only certain assets supported. So always make sure in this case, whether you're on Digifox or Digifox Pro, you can always check with our team if you don't know if the token is supported, and we can verify for you if it's eligible. But in this case, it's not just stable coins. You can deposit many other types of crypto assets. You can deposit Ethereum. You can deposit Chainlink, Kyber Network, Synthetics token, a lot of the DeFi tokens as well, and get a nice yield on top of that as well. But the basic goal here and premise is that you have to deposit a minimum of $100 of those eligible cryptocurrencies into it. So if you have $100 of USDC, you deposit it into Celsius, and presto, you've gotten one entry into the challenge in this case. Now, the other important thing to keep in mind is that you don't just have to stop there. If you want to deposit $1,000, you actually get 10 entries into the challenge. And another way that you can boost your chances of winning one of the prizes is by sharing our major social posts. So on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, we have pinned posts that talk about the September Invest in Yourself challenge. And if you basically do all 4 of those and you take a screenshot of each of those and send them to us, you can earn up to 4 additional points. You don't have to do all of them. You could just do Twitter. You could just do LinkedIn, get 1 or 2 points. But in this case, 1 point for each social post that you like and repost. It's just a way to, again, get the message out there, building the community even more. And it's a way for you to have extra entries to compete. So in this case, you might only put in $100, but you can get the equivalent of what would be $500 worth of entries by just simply sharing it on a few extra posts. But you have to have that first $100 to be eligible. The other thing as well that's important to bear in mind is that this is going between September 7th and the 30th. So we're getting towards the close here, but don't fret in this case. If you guys miss out on this challenge, you can't make a deposit in time, don't worry. We're going to be having definitely more challenges in the future. And in that case, we'll make sure to notify you when we have those. But the last thing that's important to note is that this is not a winner-be-all kind of challenge in this case. We wanted to make sure this was as even and fair as possible. So even though someone might have a lot of entries for making a large deposit, it doesn't mean they're guaranteed to get first place or consume the entire prize pool. So for example, one of our largest users recently got like a large amount of tickets in this case, and you'll be able to see it from the leaderboard real time. But that user got a lot of entries into the competition, and they're likely going to probably get first place. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that they're going to get second, third, fourth, and fifth, all the way to 10th place. They can only place once. And along with that, just because you have the largest number of entries does not mean you're guaranteed to a spot. It just means that you're more likely to place. So again, someone with, could be small as 1 to 5 entries could have just as good of a chance in that case. So it's very important to keep that in mind. You'll be able to participate and kind of go through the flow of depositing through our community tab. This is a tab that we're continuing to work on building out. But all in all, you can find this natively within the application. You can see the leaderboard, where you're positioned, who's ahead of you, who's behind you, and then also who's in first place as the top depositor for the overall challenge. So again, best thing I can recommend to do, share those social posts, get the word out, share it with a friend or family member to just check out Digifox if they're looking to better their finances. We're all about bringing more people into the ecosystem. And towards the end of the conversation stuff throughout the video, love to answer any questions you might have about the Invest in Yourself Challenge. So stay tuned. We're going to dive into some questions and answers here in about 15 to 20 minutes. But I want to go ahead here just real quickly, check the chat here. I saw we've got some other messages here about what people would do. Thank you very much, by the way, Michael, in regards to the comments on the website. Let's see here as well. I would use the $500 to create NFTs. That's interesting. I think we talked about that earlier, like the ability to create non-fungible tokens or kind of like collect.
Oh, I didn't know what that was. I was going to ask.
Yeah,
you.
yeah. It's a very technical term, but it basically NFTs are like it's a tag or basically an acronym in this case for digital collectibles on blockchain. So it's really cool. We're looking to possibly support NFTs in the future, but we're waiting for the market to kind of develop a bit more and to provide a really clean user experience for our users if we do that.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you all very much for the kind remarks in the chat and talking about what you would do with $500. Someone, Alex said, with $500, I'd buy $500 worth of Chipotle
I know, I
bowls.
saw that. I'm like, yes.
Alex, I'll tell you, I haven't gotten Chipotle in a while. I used to binge Chipotle. It was bad.
Chipotle is good.
Chipotle is very good. So yeah, thank you, Alex, for making me feel a little bit more normal. That you're not the only one who would spend. I'm not the only one that would spend $500 on Chipotle. Anyways,
we got multiple people saying that they would put it in a WeFunder, which is very nice.
That's awesome. Yeah, guys, we're happy to have you on board. And if you have any questions about the WeFunder, please let us know. We're happy to answer it and help you go through it. And Nick got it every single day. It was awful. Oh, man. And we also got a question. We will answer that question later on, Andrew. That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, let's go ahead. We'll talk a little bit about some of the topics we got here today. I want to bring you guys some good information. I want to make these webinars informative. So I want to dive into the cryptocurrency markets here. We're going to be looking at a really interesting chart today that I think is very important to talk about as we're going towards talking about the topic of what the central banks of the world are doing, what the Federal Reserve is doing. It can all sound very boring, but once you really learn about how impactful it is, it's extremely not only important to understand, but it's extremely interesting to understand how the pieces are moving right now in regards to the traditional financial system.
Mm.
So right now, cryptocurrencies, broadly speaking, are a relatively small asset class. The total valuation right now, we're actually hovering around $350 billion, which sounds like a lot of money. I mean, crypto has come a long way as an asset class, but when we're talking about crypto as a whole asset class, we really need to think big picture, and we need to understand the size of other traditional markets. So if we're talking about traditional government bonds in the world, if we're talking about traditional stocks, equity markets in this case, companies like Apple and Tesla, all combined as a market, similar to how we would bundle, Bitcoin and Ethereum and stable coins into a market cap. The interesting thing that a lot of people don't realize is that global equities or stocks is well over $100 trillion in valuation. Global bond markets over $100 trillion. Gold markets are right now, it varies depending on price, but precious metals make up around $14 trillion in valuation, if you can believe it. Massive amounts of valuation locked up in these different types of assets. And that's not even starting on property markets, which are a multi-$100 trillion market. So there's so much value in the world, and it's very easy to get lost in these big numbers and feel, oh my gosh, I'm too late to Bitcoin, I'm too late to cryptocurrencies. Well, right now, we're going through one of the most interesting experiments. We have been going through it since March, since we had the craze around COVID, and therefore the central bank monetary policy response and that, the printing of new money, the lowering of interest rates to make capital or credit cheaper. All of these elements have now made it where it is a wonderful environment to look elsewhere than just simply holding your money in a traditional bank. So the first thing here is talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been doing something very interesting. As the central bank of the United States, the Federal Reserve has gone on about a printing binge. In this case, it's been printing money at record levels that we haven't seen throughout history. What we've started to see is the dollar's value comparative to other currencies start to fluctuate a bit. Initially, back here in March, when we had the craze panic where a lot of markets were selling off, including Bitcoin and many other assets. We saw the DXY, or the Dixie Index. This is a financial aggregate index of how the dollar performs against other world currencies. So currencies like the euro, the Japanese yen. And as we can see here, from March, in the beginning of March to the middle part of March here, we had a major increase from 95 points to well over 100 points, almost towards 105 points, if you can believe it. And as much as that might not seem like a crazy amount, that has massive ramifications for the global economy when we're talking about the trillions of dollars locked in currency valuation. So again, what we saw here was assets like Bitcoin selling off. And this wasn't just Bitcoin, it was stocks, it was properties,
I remember
everything.
that.
Yeah, it was a crazy time, wasn't it, Hope? I remember
Yeah, I remember that.
I was in New York when the sell-off was happening,
Oh
and
my
it was the
gosh.
craziest thing. I mean, where were you at when it was happening?
I think I had just flown out to visit a friend in Oregon, and he was like, "I have to buy stocks right now." And I'm just like, "Okay." And it was a big thing for weeks, like about thinking, like looking into the stock market and figuring out like when he was gonna buy in, and when like all of his friends and everything were gonna buy in. And I was like, "Oh, okay." Then I actually opened up an ETF account too, because I was like, oh, this seems like something I should get in on.
The interesting thing in that case, Hope, is that it's amazing. That story you mentioned resonates with a lot of people, because many people are here today, in the webinar, or have, signed up for apps like Robinhood, all these different
Yeah.
applications that do stock trading, simply because of that dip in the stock market. And usually where it tends to be, everyday investors don't invest at the right time. They usually invest a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out that the hedge funds actually were the ones selling during the panic,
Oh
and
wow.
the retail investors, the everyday people like you and I, they were actually buying, which is an interesting phenomenon. It usually never happens, and
Oh.
it's been great for a lot of people who have been investing or being smart with their money, because COVID kind of forced us to do this, to be smart
Mm-hmm.
about it and to
Mm-hmm.
find these opportunities.
But
But
I liked what
anyways,
we were saying about Bitcoin, about how like what you feel like if you didn't get in early on it, like everything is so overwhelming, and now there's Bitcoin and Ethereum and there's all these other coins, and it's like if you didn't get in early, it kind of feels like you missed out on a lot of everything.
yeah,
But
well, I can tell you right now, Hope, and to all of you listening, again, I can't give direct financial advice to any of you all. We can't do that at Digifox, but
no.
I will tell you all personally, we're big fans of the asset class personally. I mean, obviously our whole business is built around crypto, but not just the success of crypto. We use stable coins. I just want to go ahead and actually in today's video, or kind of our discussion here, just kind of talk a little bit about why in this case, investors are seeking out assets like Bitcoin.
Mm.
And the important thing here that you can notice here is some interesting correlations with how the dollar performs and how Bitcoin performs. If you notice here initially back in March, we had a pretty strong decline in Bitcoin, along with most other assets, when the dollar was strong. And the reason why is because when people are fleeing assets like Bitcoin or other assets, they're usually going back into dollars. If you're selling Bitcoin, what are you going back into? You're going back into dollars, right? You're giving it to someone else at probably a lower price, or you're just trying to get it off your hands and go back into dollars. Therefore, there was major dollar demand here.
Mm.
But after the hype in March, we had a pretty steady decline going throughout most of 2020, down here towards 92 points, even lower than we were back here in March of 2020. And in this case, ever since then, Bitcoin had an inverse correlation. Bitcoin had been doing great during this time. And in fact, when the Dixie had broken past its previous lows here in July, Bitcoin started to pick up big time. It went from around, sorry, I have my percentages on here just to turn on the prices. We went from around $9,000 per Bitcoin all the way up to 12,400. Not bad if you can get it. So what we see here is an inverse correlation between when Bitcoin does well, the dollar generally performs worse, and vice versa. When the dollar performs well, Bitcoin tends to perform worse off.
Mm.
So it's very important for us to try to understand, what the dollar is going to do, to understand, how the dollar is going to perform when analyzing Bitcoin. If we're trying to understand if we should invest in Bitcoin as an asset, it's not the only thing we should care about, but it's one of many things. And the interesting thing that we need to keep an eye on is not only the Dixie as an indicator, in a sense, to see if the dollar's showing signs of strength, showing signs of weakness, but also focus on what the Federal Reserve is doing, what the central banks are doing right now. And this is where we have to put our biases aside. We have to really try to listen to what the Federal Reserve is doing, and also take a look at the track record of the central banks, what they say and what they do. Because a lot of the time, what they say they're going to do tends not to be the case, right?
Oh,
So it's no insult to the central banks. I'm not here to be too opinionated, but that's the key thing that everyone should understand with finances. It's the same with us at Digifox and any other company. It's just like a friend or someone you have to make sure that someone sticks to their word. They try
right.
their best to meet to their goals and to be as transparent as possible.
Your
And
actions speak so loudly, I cannot hear what you say.
yeah, I love that, Hope. That's actually a really good analogy for it. Like, I think actions speak much more than people's promises or their statements. And,
Hmm.
as we're living in these crazy times where you really have to be on edge with your finances, you have to be finding the best opportunities. It's really important to not just listen to what the Federal Reserve has to say, but really try to interpret what that is going to actually result in, whether that's the opposite of what they're saying. But that's kind of a hard guessing game for most of us. The Fed uses very complex terminology. Financial experts and economists, who are these people who are almost on a higher echelon from everyday people, right? At least they see themselves like that. They speak in a completely foreign language to a lot of us in the day-to-day world who are just trying to get a grasp on
Yeah.
finance. So the way that I try to explain best to people to understand these predictions or understand the next move of where the Fed is going is to watch the market. And not only is the Dixie a great indicator of that, right now we're seeing a general rebound here, signaling that the market's probably a bit more confident. Doesn't mean everyone is or any guarantee of it, but the market is more confident from the Fed's statements and actions that it's probably going to start raising interest rates or not cut interest rates further. And it's also probably not going to continue printing as much money as before. And the further we see this go up, the dollar gaining value, that's more and more of a sign that the central bank is going to enact quantitative tightening rather than quantitative easing. Quantitative easing being the lowering of interest rates, making capital cheaper to borrow, so making loans cheaper, and along with that as well, more printing of money. And quantitative tightening being the restriction of new printing of money, so cutting off the printing press, and along with that as well, raising interest rates, making it more expensive to borrow and bringing more normalization to the economy. So in this case, the market is interpreting that the Fed is going more towards quantitative tightening. We can also see as well, though, that this might just be simply a short-term bump. And I want to talk a little bit about that because you don't want to get too caught up in the short-term trends. The longer-term trend here, since the Fed had to deal with COVID, was a downward trend. So right now, the general trend is still generally downward here. And I want to go ahead and talk about something that gives us a bit of a longer-term time frame. So this here, what we're looking at, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my drawings real quick, is the yield on U.S. government bonds or treasuries, as they're commonly referred to, for the 2-year bonds. So as many of you might know, some of you may not know as well, I'm happy to just give a brief, quick explanation. It's no problem if you don't know. Government bonds, as fancy as they sound, it's basically an IOU from the government. You're giving money to the government. They give you a bond. It's a promissory note that they're going to give you the original $100 you gave them, plus some kind of yield on top of it. And that's basically the interest or basically what the yield in this case of what the federal government is paying on top of that bond or that borrowed money. So we can see here that over time, if we take a really long-term perspective, I'm going to go ahead and jump to the 1-month chart here. And what this is showing us is, since back here, you can see the dates down here, since the 1980s, the yield, which used to be so sustainable, it used to be around 8-9%, has now dropped down to nearly nothing. You can basically earn nothing on your money. And this is locking up your money for 2 years. People are right now buying government bonds, expecting that at the end of 2 years, they're going to be able to receive the equivalent of 0.129% on an annual basis. So at the end of it, 0.24%, generally speaking, or well, more, if you kind of even that off, 0.26% in that case. So a little over 1/4% for locking their money away for 2 years. That doesn't factor in inflation. And it doesn't factor in that, there are probably other better opportunities out there to put your money in. This is a very, very low yield. It's about the same, if not slightly higher than the average savings account in the United States, which is paying pretty much nothing. So ever since here, we can see since the Fed cut rates, the yield drops lower. So when we expect the Federal Reserve to increase interest rates, right? To increase interest rates and engage in quantitative tightening, we would expect that the market would start buying up bonds. And in this case, the yield would start to rise as well, right? We would start to see yield increasing in this case if the Federal Reserve was going to raise interest rates. Well, we haven't seen that on the 2-year yield. In fact, we've been setting in slightly lower levels here. If we go ahead and zoom in, we can see here that we've been setting in lower levels every time we try to rebound upwards on the yields, which means in this case that a lot of people are basically buying bonds and the yield is dropping down to practically nothing. If the yield drops below the previous support level here at 0.09%, that could wreak some really bad trouble and probably hint that the Federal Reserve is probably looking at doing something like negative interest rates, which makes it even worse to hold bonds and worse to save your money in a savings account. Now let's take a look at one last thing here, the 10-year yield. So this is the exact same principle as the 2-year bond or the 2-year treasury. You're locking away your money for 10 years to the government to borrow for 10 years. And they're going to pay a higher yield in this case, in most cases, because you're locking your money up for a long time. Well, the yield ain't much higher. We can see here that if we zoom back out, just back in October of 2018, 2 years ago, right? In this case, we were getting 3.24% on an annual recurring basis if you were to give away your money to the government. In that case, in a couple of years, making well over 30%, right?
Yeah.
Well, in this case now, since back in March, we've been having lower and lower and lower peaks here and lower bottoms here on the yields. So in this case, what do you think the market is telling you? Is it telling you, from what we've discussed here today, is it telling you that the Central Bank of the United States, the Federal Reserve, is going to be cutting back its printing, increasing interest rates, or is it going to be lowering interest rates and printing more money? I want to go ahead and actually want to see here in the chat what everyone says here. I just want to see maybe you guys have some answers. We're already seeing some coming through. And interestingly enough, whether it's just memes or if it's an answer that you guys are putting in.
Printing.
Yep, more printing in this case. And that's now, again, we don't want to sit here and guarantee that the Fed is going to do anything, guys. I'm just trying to provide my perspective. This is just solely my perspective on the market.
Yeah.
What I interpret from this chart and what we kind of believe in this case is that there's going to be more printing, as everyone's saying, the money printer is going burr, it's printing away. And this also means that the Fed is probably going to consider something like negative interest rates. So knowing this, we have to be very clever and, kind of smart about where we put our money. And the United States alone, some of you might have seen our digifox video that we have on WeFunder or that we have on our YouTube channel that spoke about why we built digifox and why I originally founded it. The major problem we're going to have over the next decade is moving our money from savings to somewhere where it can actually get some form of yields. There's $9.2 trillion in U.S. savings accounts right now. And the average yield right now at the current rate is 0.06%. That's not 6%. It's 0.06%.
It's not even 0.6.
Exactly. So I think, I hope, even 0.6 kind of sounds kind of low, but it would at least be nice. It'd be better than what we've got. It's like, I agree with you. It's so shocking. And it used to be literally in the 1980s, as we were looking at those treasury yields, you used to be able to get 8% in a bank account.
Wow.
So people think that, these kind of yields that we pay through digifox, they're far out, they're impractical. When in reality,
I thought that when I first saw it too. I was like, how are you guys doing that?
Yeah, it's the thing is the problem. There's really two things at the end of the day. The one thing is we have a very nice benefit in the crypto space, but there's a lot of borrowers who need quick capital in this case, whether it be exchanges, whether it be margin traders, and that makes up a massive borrowing market within the crypto space. Usually people who are paying that interest plus a little bit more for Celsius in this case. But in this case, we not only have this great opportunity where there's a high demand market for liquidity or capital that depositors are lending out, but along with that as well, we also have this dichotomy where since the 1980s, the competition of banks have gone down from around 22,000 banks to 6,000 banks in the United States. And during that same period of time, we've gone from an average interest rate of 8% down to 0.06% due to stifled competition. So again, the pressure of the Federal Reserve is only going to make this worse on commercial banks and the average saver. The average saver is going to be the one that's hit in this case, where you might be penalized in this case for holding your savings. It's not guaranteed. Many times we've seen in European banks that the banks will take the hit. But either way, you're basically not going to be receiving anything on your money, having it in a savings account, just like you're not right now. So
And
I want
actually
to
looked up like the average rate of inflation in the US specifically, and it's like 3.2 something. So if you get 0.06 in your savings and then inflation is up 3 point something, that's, I
it's
mean,
not even
you don't
hedging
need to know math
inflation.
to know.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's like one of those things you don't even need to do the math. You're like, dang, my bank's like completely not preparing me for this wave of higher prices and
Yeah.
saving for your future. At a rate of 2% inflation, in 50 years, your money is going to lose more than half of its value. In this case, it's going to depreciate massively. So as we keep that in mind, what we need to look for is opportunity. And if you guys have been keeping up with decentralized finance, I think you see where that opportunity is coming into. DeFi as a whole, back since the beginning of this year in January, started off at around a $691 million market. It's now tackled up towards $11.19 billion. And this is absolutely parabolic growth. As you all know, digifox is aimed at plugging into decentralized finance. It's been one of our key goals to make DeFi as simple and seamless as possible. And I've been keeping up with DeFi since back here, 2018, 2019, even before really it was labeled properly. So to see it going from a couple $1 million all the way up here towards 11, 12 billion dollars is absolutely phenomenal. It shows that if you're here right now, you're here at the right time, you're not too late. Again, remember the markets of scale that we talked about, the trillions of dollars in this case that will make up crypto markets, that will be stable coins, traditional dollars moving into the form of stable coins and earning interest. People are looking for that yields and they're looking for it fast. So all in all, again, digifox is offering that opportunity where if you want to deposit a stable coin through Celsius, you can do that. You can earn high rates of interest. If you own, if you own Bitcoin or are looking to buy Bitcoin, you can purchase it and deposit it into Celsius and earn 6%. Right now it's 6% Bitcoin annually. But again, the rates can vary. It could go up to 8%, could go down 4%, right? So in this case, again, providing that yield to hedge yourself, not only against Bitcoin's volatility, but also just to make some kind of yield far beyond what you're making at your bank. And we think that these kind of opportunities will continue to be coming up. We'll offer as many as we can throughout the app that are quality, industry leaders that have good custodial practices, good security standards, and also are legally regulated properly as entities. So we're very excited to just kind of provide that protection and to continue seeing what happens here, to see what the Federal Reserve and other central banks do across the world.
Yeah, it's just good to prepare either way for either scenario, just so that you're always prepared.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a very unique time we're living in, everyone. And no matter if you're kind of in like a low, middle, or high income standard, guys, I think we're all feeling the pain to some degree. It's a very adaptive world. You have to be quick moving and kind of find those new opportunities. Sometimes I know some people have to pick up a second job. There's all kinds of different things. And along with that, I want to make it clear to you all that we feel you all and we want to help you as much as possible. There's a lot of companies who I think are, again, just kind of focused on growth and building a business that's just going to enrich them. We really care at the end of the day about building something that's going to build a community and more than anything, a family within digifox. So if there's anything we can do to help you or to better build the app for you, let us know. I know Hope and I share that sentiment alongside the entire team.
Yeah, we really want to create more of a community with you guys. And we're actually going to talk about that later because I looked ahead and saw some of the questions, but we'll talk a little bit more about community and the community tab. a little bit later. But
Yeah, no, we can dive into it actually pretty soon
okay.
because I'm basically I did my spiel. That was it. That was the news for the webinar. But yeah, I think it's very
Excellent.
fitting with everything that's going on, and I'm happy to answer any questions I possibly can.
So far, no one has submitted any questions. I actually had a few questions that people asked, some people that couldn't be on the webinar um, submitted for us. So I could probably pull those up and we could talk about those.
Yeah.
Just a minute. One of the questions was, will coin charts be integrated? For example, this user has Ample in their wallet and they want to know if by clicking the coin, if the chart can be displayed.
Yeah, so in this case, they're wondering if we're going to be integrating like charts into the app so they can see the change in price over time.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. So we are looking to build in charts. This is something that actually I've had some good back and forth with our designer, Maddie or
Yeah.
Madison Yoakum. And Maddie is kind of, there are some things she's very much like, if we go about adding charts, and I completely agree with her on this, you know, if we add charts into the app, we want to make sure we absolutely do it right. We want to make sure that they're accurate, that they're beautiful, that they just natively fit in the app. And along with
Yeah.
that, you know, you're mentioning that example. I think it's a good point, Hope, that they brought up of like being able to see it when you look at an individual asset. But maybe you want to see your broad portfolio performance. You want to be able to see, you know, all types of different, you know, charts and stuff in different places. So we're, you know, that's something we want to spend like a month perfecting, like where we put charts and where they really add value in this case in the app. But needless to say, it's also a design process, and
Yeah.
we are definitely looking at doing it. The reason we actually, interestingly enough, I don't know if I told you this before, Hope, we actually used to have charts within like the
Mhm.
alpha version of
Yeah.
digifox. We decided to abstract and remove them. And the reason for this was because we were mainly focused on just providing savings. But what we've come to learn is a lot of people love the swap mechanism. We
Mm.
also have our fiat on ramps where people can buy crypto. So in this case, that, you know, just even if you own something like Ethereum or Chainlink or Basic Attention token, you know, whatever token it may be, or a lot of people now have the Uni token. A lot of people want to see the balance change over time. So we're definitely working on it. Something we're hoping to get maybe before end of the year, as we continue to improve our user experience.
Mhm. Another question this person had was, is a website coming where I can access my wallet? And yeah, that's something we've talked about before, and I believe it's pretty simple to implement. It just hasn't been top priority at the moment, just because of all the stuff that's happening in the market. But it is on the roadmap and something that we'll probably have, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's something we're definitely looking to do as we continue to expand out our product team. We're going to be able to kind of like start having different people focus on different feature sets, or at least be able to get these pushed out faster and faster as time progresses. But for the team we have right now, and also the kind of requirements that users are asking from us, we've had a good amount of users ask about a desktop application. I'm at a desktop computer a lot of the day, so I would love to see my digifox balance. I always had the same complaint when I used Robinhood and all these fintech apps. They were always mobile, and I was like, oh man, I really want to use my desktop, like, because I was so used to it. But anyways, I digress. Yeah, we are working on it. You know, at least again, it's another thing where that's a major step for us, where we're going to be taking the functionality and layout of digifox and displaying it on a desktop monitor. So we have to completely rethink. I mean, not completely rethink, but think about how we best optimize it for desktop. And the important thing it's important to be transparent about is the way that smart wallets work. We don't technically have a way right now where you'd be able to utilize digifox solely on your desktop. So you would still have to take out your phone to like confirm a transaction.
Mm.
In this case, it might pop up like a window on your computer. And in this case, you'd be able, excuse me, a window on your phone, and it would say like confirm this transaction. You tap it, and then you'd be good to go. But
Mhm.
I think there will be a technological solution for that later on that we'll be able to figure out. But for right now, it's not possible to make it solely just on the desktop in that case. So that's
Mhm.
another thing we want to hopefully see if we can push out that feature. We would hopefully be able to resolve that first.
Mhm. Um, Another question that I thought was really good to kind of go over, because this is kind of a newer feature. What is Digifox Pro, and like, what is it, and why does it cost money, and like why did we put it in there, basically?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wrote up a pretty, it's a bit lengthy, but I wrote up a blog post that kind of explains why we did Digifox Pro. So just to explain it real quick what it is, Digifox Pro is an upgraded form of the Digifox platform that all of our original like first few thousand users had by default, which is where we generate a smart wallet that allows you to tap into DeFi protocols like Compound or to applications like Uniswap, which we have natively integrated. Um, Now, the thing is, we would love to provide this to all of our users. In fact, as you all can probably tell from our slogan, Finance for Everyone, we want to make finance for everyone. We don't want to try to charge people memberships. We don't want to do these kind of things. However, we actually are charging this one-time payment to switch to Digifox Pro, not to make money, but really to actually cover the underlying cost. And as I kind of briefly mentioned, as a kind of too long did not read explanation in the blog post, the reason why is because right now, every time we generate a Digifox wallet, we're deploying a smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain. And I always joke back. I joke with Chase when we were working on the alpha version, when gas fees were so cheap on Ethereum, it costed us what a couple cents to a dollar to generate a wallet.
Yeah.
So yeah, we kind of ate the cost in that case. And for a very long period of time, as it went to $5 for a wallet, $10 for a wallet, $20 for a wallet, $50. I was still paying that out of pocket. I actually opted in to not use the money we raised from our WeFunder on that, and it was a very difficult decision, but I wanted to do it in order to make sure Digifox had some good runway as a company, and above all, we got to a point where we just couldn't keep doing that. I didn't have that kind of reserve capital, so we basically worked about building a system where people could still earn interest. They could still buy some cryptocurrencies through our fiat on-ramp for free. And if they want to pay for Digifox Pro to have that easy user interface into DeFi, they could do that. And it still works. We've had about, I would say probably, 2 to 3 dozen different people who have signed up for Digifox Pro since we've implemented it. So it's been going good. And then outside of that, a lot of people have just been going crazy over the standard Digifox platform, which is tapping into Celsius, buying through our on-ramps. And we're going to be continuing to work on both systems to make it appealing to tap into both services or kind of wings of the Digifox app.
Alan says, thank you for giving me Digifox Pro because I think I was one of the first wallets.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you were one of the first few thousand, in that case, you likely have, if you can make swaps through the swap mechanism in the app, you have Digifox Pro. So it's something that
it's only something that new users really need to worry about.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's just people who kind of came in later. And I guess it's similar to Uni in a sense. We're kind of, it's our way of saying thank you. We're not expecting them to pay us anything and stuff because they were kind of the earliest users.
Yeah.
But we hope to make it where everyone can access it. Again, we're not, if you guys see from our WeFunder and everything, our whole goal is to not charge membership fees. I mean, we could explore that in the future if we really wanted to, but I personally don't think that's how we want to monetize. We want to charge on a fee basis. Yeah.
Yeah. Alan also asked a question. He says, thank you so much. I have a question. Why is there only one person participating with 1,245 entries right now?
Yeah, so the reason why is because we had someone actually deposit a very large sum. I can't tell you who they are, but we did actually have someone, I think Hope and every one of us were pretty surprised because that was our largest single wallet in the app. Someone had actually moved a lot of crypto assets that they owned. So we have someone who happens to be at first place who really deposited over 100K in assets. So it's pretty exciting. It shows us that we've got a lot of people getting excited about the September challenge, a lot of people interested in participating. But the important thing to keep in mind when you see those kinds of numbers, and we're constantly working about how we want to kind of present the leaderboard and like it kind of showcase the challenges, is we don't want that to kind of discriminate people or make people feel like they can't participate. Yeah, because that's why we do the social media stuff. We're looking at ways where we can let people get extra entries without having to even deposit a large amount of money.
Yeah.
And the important thing is let's say, for example, that individual who has the 1,000 entries in that case, because they deposit a large sum of money.
Yep.
In that case, they can only win one position from first to 10th place.
Right.
Yeah.
So they can't win like all 10. And
Exactly.
Alan asked a similar question too, where he says, I'd love to enter the contest, but I only have $3,000. And that would only be 30 entries compared to like 1,200, which is so little.
Yeah. I think one thing that's something that's a really good point of feedback we should take to the team when we work on if it's the October, November challenge we're working on, we should definitely work on refining that and better explaining that, I think, because That's the thing. We really thought hard, guys, about like, I know when I was bouncing back a lot with Hope and Madison and Samantha and Tio as well. And we kind of sat there and thought, how do we want to go about making this the most fair system possible?
Mm-hmm.
And we came up to that conclusion where it's like, look, that person can only win one position. And if they're putting a lot of deposits, it's the same as, for example, we could put the playing field at someone deposits $500 and someone deposits 100 and says, hey, that's no fair. They get 5 entries, but they're putting in 5 times the deposits. So it's just better in that case that we give them a chance at winning. But at the same time, everyone still has a chance to place very well. And if for the user who was mentioning, if they deposited 3,000, that's still a pretty good amount. That would still give you, a pretty good chance to play somewhere from 1st to 10th place. Definitely.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just because they have 1,200 entries doesn't mean that they're in first place. It just means they have the most entries, and they're more than likely to win a spot in the contest. Last contest we did, there was somebody who had quite a few entries, and I thought they would maybe win first place, and they didn't end up winning first place because it's a random drawing and it's not based on who has the most. So that's just the way we run it. So just because they have that many entries doesn't mean they're going to win first place. It didn't happen last time. So yeah. Another thing is he wants to know how long KYC verifications from Celsius takes.
Yeah, it really can vary. We've had, I think it's about 80 to like 90% of our users go through. They get their KYC verified on the same day that they apply. It can be as little as 90 minutes. Mine has always gone through very quickly. I know that for some people it can take up, they give a range of it's like 90 minutes to 2 days. So that's the general ballpark range. If it doesn't go through by then, it likely means that there's an issue with the way that they do KYC on their end in that case. We're working on building better support channels with Celsius so that we can contact their team and also figure out, like what's going on that's preventing you from being able to pass through. But 80-90% of users go through very smoothly in that case. And we're working with Celsius, hopefully, to do everything in our power to make that number get larger and larger so everyone can go through and deposit properly into the wallet. But yeah, I would say that overall, it can be as little as 90 minutes to just a couple of hours. And then you'll get notified when you're approved, and you can go ahead and deposit your crypto if you already own some into the wallet, or you can go about making a deposit through the fiat on-ramp that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shane says, on security, since we don't have access to keys, and it seems more custodial, how is security handled? I've actually gotten that question a lot lately from people.
Absolutely. Yeah. So in this case, Shane, there's really 2 different scenarios here. If you're like the majority of users who have digifox Pro by default, there's no key management from digifox. There's no third party who owns your funds. Your keys are actually stored locally on your device. But the way that you can actually go about recovering your wallet doesn't require you have basically a private key written down or a recovery or seed phrase in that case. So you actually don't need to do that. The way that smart contract wallets work is you're able to use your phone and your email to actually go about generating, in this case, a new account, recovering your previous funds, in this case, from your smart contract wallet. So you're able to activate it on another device. You can do it on the same device. Let's say, for example, your phone, you dropped your phone when you're on vacation and it broke and shattered in pieces. You can go ahead and just get a SIM card at your mobile provider into a new mobile phone, download the digifox app, you go through the recovery process. In less than an hour, you have your account back to normal and you're back in action. So that's how it works with a smart contract wallet or digifox Pro. And the sense that you're just a standard digifox user, and in that case, you're putting your funds into Celsius. Celsius is the custodial provider in that case. So again, that's the centralized aspect to it. So like if you decide to deposit through Celsius and don't sign up for digifox Pro, you have to use Celsius in that case. It's a bit unfortunate because we want to offer that opportunity where people can just have a wallet. The problem is that if we go about doing like we do hope to make it where you can generate like a seed phrase wallet, but that's something that's a little bit far out because it's not highly in demand by a lot of our users. And along with that, we have to completely redo our infrastructure. And it kind of challenges. Chase brought this, I think he put it into the best words when I was considering it during one of our product meetings. He brought up the point where it's like it kind of defeats the whole purpose of what we built to abstract the private key, or to abstract the seed phrases. It makes the user experience kind of go back to the same, kind of stale way it was traditionally for the last 10 years in crypto. Not to say that if you want to do a seed phrase, that's fine, but I just think in that case, having to manage the seed phrase can actually be a very big security vulnerability if you don't save it in the
Yeah.
right place, if you don't write it down. And a lot of people don't do that. There's been probably just as much funds lost from people not writing down their seed phrase or losing it than, any kind of, breach in this case from any of the applications that we've pulled into. Celsius has been good. Compound has been nice as well. And then also core Digifox wallet, we haven't had any issues so far. So it's been good.
Yeah. Kind of like this workspace has been accident free for how many days?
Yeah, let's hope that number keeps ticking. No, I think it's going well.
So far,
Yeah,
it's been since the beginning of launch. So,
and that's the thing that people should understand. We've actually written some articles on it in the security docs to kind of talk about for the Digifox wallet in this case. Now, Celsius has its own custodial solutions it uses. But basically, we're non-custodial in this case. So when you have a Digifox wallet or Digifox Pro, you own your own assets. There is no way that Digifox controls your funds. And along with that, we're utilizing open source code that's been audited, that's been reviewed. And again, when you have it open source, you have some of the strongest code in the world because people can review it. There's bug bounty programs, all types of things where people are poking holes at it, trying to see if they can get in. And so far over the last few years, this kind of framework has not been breached. So it's been really nice.
Awesome. Anonymous attendee says, what are you doing to retain users who are still waiting for uni tokens? The uni tokens I didn't even know that they were a thing until Friday. And somebody messaged me about them and I was like, Nick, what are these? I don't know what they are.
Why is everyone sending me this 3-letter uni symbol? What does it mean? Yes. So basically, just to let you all know, if you're still waiting for your uni tokens, first thing I want to assure you guys is like, if you are eligible for them, there's no cutoff time. You can always claim them. So that's the good news. There's no sense of urgency unless you're looking obviously to sell in this case. Now, in the case of uni token, I think by now, if not the majority, if not a good amount of users have already claimed their tokens. If it's not displaying properly, just please be diligent in the customer support chat, but be nice as well, to the support team. And Chase will hopefully be able to help you out there in that case. He's been able to help a lot of individual users who it's not displaying for.
A really easy fix usually.
Yeah, it's usually just a graphical issue. And we can always send you like the the actual confirmation on Etherscan to see that they're sitting in your wallet. You're holding them. We're not touching your uni tokens at all. But basically, we've gotten I think the majority of users by now claiming it, which is really nice. It's been a great payout for a lot of people who supported the app early on. I know many of you here in the webinar might have done it. And even if you didn't, if you actually didn't end up making a swap like a lot of users didn't, it's no worry. We've got a lot of opportunities, I think, coming down the line where, for interacting with the tools that we have integrated, there's probably going to be more token launches like this. I can't guarantee anything, but I do feel that we're going to see that sometime in the future. So keep supporting Digifox and keep kind of interacting with DeFi. I bet there's going to be a lot of things just like it.
Yeah, it seems like this kind of thing happens on a sort of regular basis, like in crypto.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good incentive mechanism to be an early supporter and try new systems. And the way Uniswap did it was very interesting, where Uniswap already kind of built up a reputation, and it was kind of a thanks for, supporting the app from the beginning and helping to bring traffic to it.
Yeah. Nick Franklin says, you guys are awesome. I opened up the app and it linked right to Uni.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. Yeah, no, we tried to make it as seamless as possible. And again, if you guys have any issues, like if it's not displaying properly, like as Hope and I mentioned, like, you can reach out to us. It's under the profile tab. There's the customer support window, or you can can message the little speech bubble where you probably saw Hope send the webinar invitation. But we're always here to help you guys. We want to make sure you claim those free tokens. And just to let you all know, if you're curious about what I'm doing, I had 3 wallets. I had one Digifox wallet and like a few other MetaMask wallets where I interacted with Uniswap, and I'm holding it all. So that's just what I'm personally doing. But you guys have to determine for yourselves.
Did you get like multiple drops based on multiple addresses?
Exactly.
Dang, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was very fortunate, but I've been a supporter of Uniswap for a long time. I wish I would have done like a wallet per trade or something. That would have been very nice. But no, I did a total of 3 wallets that interacted. I might have one that I'm missing or something. I tried to look through the other day, but all in all, I'm not complaining. But I'm holding those tokens because I love what Uniswap's doing. We'll see what happens, but I don't want to speak for all of you guys out there. You guys
made me wish I had done a swap.
Yeah, I know. Hope you've been mainly focusing on the savings product and putting your
Yeah.
crypto to work. It's so cool. Like that's the great thing about digifox. You can't say about too many apps. Most people say, oh yeah, I go on Coinbase to buy crypto, right? And then you hold it.
Yeah.
Whereas with digifox, it's not an exchange platform. We aggregate decentralized exchange providers, fiat on ramps, lending partners where you can deposit and earn interest. There's so much you can do. You do payments, things like that. So we're very, very excited to keep adding a suite of features and really make it all in one finance.
Yeah. Mark says, by the way, love your support. Great personal customer service experience. Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's something we pride ourselves on. I know. Hope you've been, especially ever since the uni airdrop, you've been like killing it on customer support.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's been really crazy, but really fun to talk to people. So it's always fun, and I'm gonna brag on Nick a little bit. He's always on intercom at least like a couple hours a day, unless he's traveling the world. Is understandable, but it's really nice to just have a CEO that like cares about the community and wants to interact with people and answer questions and just isn't too prideful to step into support every once in a while. And support is always feels like, oh, that's like the low level job, but honestly, like we all do it, and Nick does it quite a bit. So
Hope, I agree. I think that's been the narrative for the last few decades, that like support is kind of like not something to be valued.
yeah,
But I think, when I was working at a previous tech company, our advisor, Zeb, who founded ClickUp, which is a very successful project management software. I'm sad I left the company. I loved working there. But basically, they always had an emphasis on customer support because it is the best channel to get direct feedback. It's beneficial for the business. Like we get to hear from people what, Hope, you and I have like gotten to see so much great feedback that we've taken to product
yeah,
meetings, and Maddie's done a great job of kind of aggregating it and getting a lot of information. But we also get to just kind of on a real note, like we get to know our users, and sometimes
yeah,
people send a selfie of themselves and say like, yeah, like love Digifox, and like
it's so great.
it's very rewarding in that case, because it's
Yeah,
very easy in crypto to get disconnected. And I like more than anything that you guys get to see Hope, you get to see Samantha, you get to see Chase coming in to fix that bug that we have in the app or whatever it may be. And it's just been phenomenal in that case to kind of put some faces to the Digifox family in that case.
yeah, that's one of our core values that we've really strived to do, is putting a face to finance and just kind of having you guys be able to know who we are. And honestly, like customer support is really important to all of us. And like, I don't know, have Nick, if you, whenever other companies I interact with, and sometimes softwares that I sign up for, even if their software isn't as good as another software, if their customer support is super great, I will work with them over another company that takes like 2 days to get back to me.
Absolutely,
Because
you at least know they're addressing the problem, right? Exactly,
right,
and they care
I
about
can
you.
move faster through things if they answer me versus when they take forever to get back to me. So
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more, Hope. It's a rarity in today's world, but it's getting more popular because I think people realize the
yeah,
success of it over time. But yeah, I mean, we've believed it from day one and stuff. But you can say we catched onto the trend pretty early. But yeah, I think above all, it's something that's just, for me, it's very valuable. I think especially as you mentioned, Hope, for like a CEO to be able to like see like that, oh, your product isn't perfect 24/7. Like, that's a big problem, is CEOs get caught up in their vision a lot. And it translates to our product meetings as well. I do talk a decent amount and stuff, but I always try to make sure like to pull in as many people to the call as possible and be like, hey guys, what's your stance on this? Like, what do you see about this? What's your vision for the product? Because it's very likely that, one person being in charge of everything is going to miss a lot of things. What users need, what direction the product should go. So yeah, again, just big part of the philosophy that we have at Digifox is that everyone gets a voice, and we kind of hear from everyone. It's a very strategic thing for the company.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of sort of along those lines, Brian says, any ambition to add a social community aspect to the wallet, where we could talk crypto and get news and network with each other? And that's actually kind of why we launched the community tab last week or the week after, week and a half ago, which is to start that process. And that is definitely something we really want to have in the Digifox community, is just to make it so that you guys can get to know each other if you want, or get to, obviously get to know us. You can do that already through support, but we want to have kind of a spot where we can just, talk with you guys and have you guys talk to each other if you want to. But that is kind of definitely a vision that we've had.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right, Hope. Like what we want to start with the community tab is basically we had the idea for our challenges to get more people saving and starting to kind of having some kind of fun way where we can kind of gamify in a sense, and it's kind of an overused term, but like kind of gamify like participating in the community. But we definitely want to turn, we got rid of what was originally, it was a marketing tab for our debit card, which we do hope to release in the future. We replaced that entirely with the community tab. And this is just the start, as Hope had mentioned. Like we've got so much we want to be able to bring in. We want to build in social features, news, being able to track like specific news or events tied to the cryptocurrencies or the topics that you love. Again, this is months from now and stuff in this case that we're really going to be able to make this like fully fledged, as we're still a relatively small team in the grand scheme of things. But as we continue to scale out, we're going to continue to take feedback and add on top of the community tab. And it's going to be a great social hub where, again, as we're all-in-one finance, we want to be the all-in-one place you need to come to socialize about finance. We don't want you to have to go to Twitter, or you don't have to go to Telegram and all these areas and avenues. We'd have it all hopefully in digifox, or at least maybe be able to kind of track and follow some of the things that are going on in those social channels as well.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
We also kind of want like link all of our content there, some of our blog posts, some of our YouTube videos, so you can kind of see different, like learn a little bit more about finance there. We've been kind of starting to release some like simple videos about different concepts and blog posts about those things. We want to be able to educate people who maybe don't know much about it, or would like to be able to point people to a resource that explains it in plain English. A big shout out to Samantha for that. She's our head of content creation. She's in charge of kind of making sure all that stays on task, and she does a brilliant job.
Yeah, if you guys haven't already, definitely subscribe to the digifox channel. Not only has Hope and Samantha been doing some great content, but they're also talking about, as I hope you kind of alluded to, like some actual crypto topics, but also finance topics. So get a kind of broad range of content. And then also you can always go follow our blog on our website that we have, where we have our blog posts, but we also have a Medium if you want to follow us there. And also on our social channels, Hope and Samantha are putting out some good stuff. So definitely, if you can, go follow those channels. And if you like and repost in that case and send it over intercom, our pinned messages, then in that case, you'll get some entries in the competition.
Another point.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the Invest in Yourself Challenge. We gave away where someone could get 4 entries without even having to deposit in that case. So we wanted to make it open for anyone who's willing to kind of help us.
I believe you do have to deposit at least $100.
Yes.
But but you could get 5 entries with $100 basically. Marcin says, sorry if this was asked already, joining late, but can I convert my uni to USDC and still save with Celsius via digifox? I believe yes.
Yeah, so basically Uni token on Uniswap, which we integrate with, has such good liquidity. You'd be able to basically sell it. You'll have to pay the network fee and the digifox fee, but which outside of that, like, I mean, if you have, I don't know what the market value is right now of it, but I think last time I checked it was like $1,800 or $2,000 for the 400 Uni tokens. Yeah, so it's a good amount of money. If you want to cash it out, you're welcome to do so. You can swap it right natively through the app, and then you can send the USDC or whatever you swap the Uni to wherever you want. You can send it to another exchange. You can keep it in digifox. We give you the entire freedom to do whatever you want to do. Yeah. But yeah, we hope maybe you consider, looking at Celsius. In that case, you can earn interest on your USDC. But if you want to send it somewhere else, you have at it. In that case, you earned it for using digifox early on, and therefore using Uniswap. So we're just more than happy than anything that our users got the Uni tokens that they were supposed to earn.
Do you know if you can? I don't actually look. Can you deposit Uni into Celsius just on its own, or no?
So that they might support it in the future. That's a good question. They might, as a platform, support it. Same, yeah. It could be the same with Compound. They might support it, but right now they don't. So until Celsius supports it as an asset and builds an actual borrowing and lending market for it, then in that case, people can't deposit it to earn interest.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Greg says, can we quickly pivot for example, Celsius / Compound or the other chosen providers? How come they don't offer the same API? Is it on the roadmap for digifox to switch providers of API depending on best outcome? For example, I cannot see myself using Compound as the current API is around banking interest rates.
Sorry, maybe I didn't get the question properly in that case. So could you read the first portion of it again?
Um, it says
Actually, I
for
could.
examples. Yeah, if you want to read it, see.
Yeah.
I think he's asking like why the APIs or the APRs, maybe you need to say, are different. Like why the interest rates are different for the different exchanges and such. Because I know
Okay.
I remember that when I first saw that too. I was like, Celsius is way higher. Why would I ever use compound?
Yeah, that's a good point.
They're just
Yeah, sorry. When you were saying APY, I don't know why. I was thinking APIs, like I was thinking in tech speak. So they like an API plugging into like certain software provider or something. But anyways, so this is a good question. We originally, Greg, had Compound integrated because we knew that like Compound and DeFi were kind of the big hit. But one thing that I really kind of we kind of have a disagreement with, or maybe just a different vision on as a company versus maybe other smart wallets on the market, is that we really believe that DeFi is a spectrum. It's a lot of different companies, and even Compound at the end of the day is not completely decentralized. There is still some centralized components to it. It does give you a pretty much trustless way to earn interest on your crypto. It's I think it's much safer than a lot of other DeFi apps. It's well audited. There's a good amount of reserves in that case for people depositing. So the more deposits you have, the longer it hasn't gone without a breach in the contract. It probably is well audited and it works functionally.
Mhm.
But the thing is that Compound has something very different from Celsius. And that is that Celsius, in this case, differs from Compound in the fact that it has a team that can basically balance the books. So this is something that Leah Jonas and she's I think the head of business development at Celsius, and she's just recently moved to a new position. But we used to banter back and forth about how we always try to stress to people that the key thing for DeFi to maintain is this constant balance between a good rate for depositors and also decent rates for borrowers in this case, with a very small margin in between. That's the benefit in this case, the ability to earn actual yield on your capital, and also for borrowers to get better interest rates than what they're getting at their commercial bank. So in the traditional world of finance, you've got like the depositor in this case who's earning 0.06% on average, so a fraction of a percentage. And you have the banks here who are lending out to borrowers, and they're charging 15, 20, 25%, 30% for credit. We want to squeeze that bank in the middle and give better rates for depositors and lower borrowing rates for the borrower. And that's the great thing you've been able to do basically with Celsius. The rates have gone down on the borrowing side, and also the rates for depositors have been good as well. So you were asking that case about are we looking to get rid of Compound? Not exactly. And the reason why is because some people want that more decentralized option.
Mhm.
And to us, we say so be it. But the thing is, at the same time, as we continue to refine the product, we're finding that Celsius is overwhelmingly the most popular product. So we definitely are going to kind of work, not just to have Celsius, we want to have other providers, but make it as seamless as possible, where you don't have some people want a lot of options. So if we can signify that the user wants a lot of options, we want to give it to them. If they don't want a lot of options and they say oh, I care about the highest interest rate possible, or I care about maximum trustlessness, or I care about maximum security and insurance, then we would be able to assign them a provider and showcase why that
Mhm.
individual provider would be the best one. But that's something, again, that we have to kind of refine on product.
Yeah, so basically we're not going to get rid of the providers that we have, but we are looking to add more.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So Kevin says, can transferring assets from Coinbase count as a deposit for the competition because his bank currently doesn't support wire transfers to digifox?
Absolutely, Kevin. Yeah, the only thing I would say in that case is that if you're depositing, I don't know if you're on Digifox Pro or if you just have a standard Digifox account. You can kind of find this if you look at the profile tab. If you see a card that says upgrade to Digifox Pro, or you try to swap and it tells you to upgrade, then in that case you're on the standard wallet. The only thing I would say in this case is make sure you deposit Celsius supported assets. You can figure out which ones are supported by looking at the Earn tab and going through to look at Celsius, and you can see the list of assets. So it's pretty much a lot of the ERC20 tokens, stable coins. You can deposit basic attention token, Kuiper network, synthetics token, Ethereum. I don't know if I mentioned Ethereum itself, but you can deposit. God, I'm probably missing a few. Yeah, like I think there's like 0x token, a few other ones that you can deposit and earn interest. So
Mhm.
absolutely feel free to. Those do count as entries into the competition. And I'm sorry to hear as well, um, the bank currently not supporting wire transfers to digifox. We're working on a few other fiat on ramps. We've got a big one that we're excited to announce in probably the next month or so, but working on it behind the scenes still.
Yeah, that'll be good. Greg asked another question, and I left it in just kind of because I thought it was important. He said load times are a little slow on the app load, and some other companies like MetaMask, etc., have like logos that are somewhat similar to ours, I guess. And he says, for example, if I say digifox to a friend, they might think Firefox, or what if I showed them the logo, they might think it was MetaMask. Um, and on the first part, like with load times being slow, it's like, yeah, we know. That's something that I think is like main priority at the moment is optimizing it so that those load times are a little bit faster, and a little bit more smooth and operational. And before, all these like ideas we have for new features kind of have to wait until we address this part first, like, make the stuff that we already have function really well. And then we'll move on to the other features that we want to get to. But I don't know if you have anything to add to that, or if you want to talk about the branding that Greg has suggested.
Yeah. So Greg, on
Is
the
really
first thing you talked about with like, yeah, like the load times, I think the biggest thing as Hope mentioned is we're doing a lot of small things to improve like the core features we have in that case, load times, at more accurate and up-to-date price recognition. So like, when Bitcoin makes a price move or, whatever cryptocurrency we're talking about within the wallet, we want to make sure that the time you load that screen, you're getting the most up-to-date price possible. So those are some things we're working on. In the sense of branding, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of apps that will like have branding overlap in this case, where you'll have like a Fox in this case. We chose Digifox because, like, honestly, more than anything, it's not only that it's a catchy name in this case, a catchy name in this case, where like you can just kind of like say like, oh yeah, I'm on Digifox and stuff. It's unique enough where there's brand recognition, but along with that as well, we kind of see the fox as kind of a kind of frivolous kind of like animal and stuff that's is kind of always trying to find like kind of getting around the system in a sense. We're trying to build something that's really
yeah.
built for the people in this case, and it's not like the traditional kind of archaic banking infrastructure that people are used to, that doesn't have their better interest in mind.
Yeah, I remember asking you why you named the company that, and I really like that analogy. And I like the logo too. I remember when Samantha and I first started working here, I sent her a screenshot of the logo, and I was like, "Isn't it cute?"
Yeah, I think we had some good design work on the logo and stuff. It went through a few renditions. Yeah.
Jurgen says, "Is there a minimum time or lockup when I invest my crypto into Celsius or Compound?" I think
Yeah,
does he mean like how long they have to stay in before you can take them out?
precisely, yeah. And I think, as you know, Hope and stuff, luckily there are no deposit minimum times.
Yeah, nope.
There's no withdrawal fees from Celsius as well. You pay an initial fee to deposit, but the thing is that you can withdraw at any time you'd like. We do recommend as being as transparent as possible, because we charge a 1% one-time fee of 1% on any new deposits. It's going to be basically, if you're, for example, right now you're earning 11% interest. It is going to basically be, of course, a couple of weeks to a month in this case, where you're going to be in order to make up for that fee in that case. But the good news is you could withdraw your same capital at that time frame and stuff and get it out. But again, it's something where it's a one-time fee. We don't charge that recurring. So if you leave it in there for a year or two, it's compounding, it's growing. And for Celsius and Compound, you start to earn interest on Celsius every Monday when they do their Monday payouts. And then for Compound, it's actually every block. So every block on the Ethereum blockchain. So it's every like minute or so, you're earning fractions of a bit of interest. And you'll probably start to see it accrue enough after about a month or two. So.
Yeah, I always thought that was interesting. I found that out. Like every Monday, you can see more interest, and then Compound is like every 15 seconds or something like that. So
Yeah.
just kind of cool.
It is an interesting concept and stuff comparative to like, but it's what I love about Celsius's model is it's like their whole thing is like we kind of came up with the slogan for it, make Mondays your new Friday. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, so like it's something that you look forward to. It's like, oh hell yeah, like Monday is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. They thank God it's Monday.
Yeah.
Shane says, I do have Digifox Pro. Any plans for currencies outside of Ethereum tokens like Bitcoin? Right now, I'm just testing application as I mainly use crypto.com for cashback and earn features.
Yeah, so absolutely, Shane. Yeah, we are definitely looking to add Bitcoin deposits. Bitcoin is probably obviously it's the largest asset in the crypto space, and along with that, we've got a lot of people who want to earn interest through Celsius, or just hold it within their Digifox wallet. So we completely hear them out. We're hoping to have Bitcoin deposits, hopefully probably in early October. It's one of the prioritized features that we do have. We will let you know as soon as possible, but it's probably going to be powered through Celsius. So it is going to be Celsius custodying the funds, but you earn interest on top of it. Actual Bitcoin holdings, that's going to be a little while, and there's a reason for that because
Yeah.
what we need to do is when we allow you to have native Bitcoin assets, you're going to have a seed phrase. Smart wallet technology doesn't work for Bitcoin or other asset classes in the crypto space. So what we're going to need to do is basically give you a recovery phrase that will cover Bitcoin, Litecoin, a whole range of different assets. It's basically a multi-currency seed phrase or recovery phrase. It sounds very technical, but it's just basically a recovery code that's going to allow you to get all of your other crypto on these different protocols. So that's going to take us some time to do that, but we'll have Celsius custody, which would be nice. And you'll also be able to store Litecoin and a lot of other ones very soon here, hopefully in the month of October.
I'm excited. I have a lot of Bitcoin because it was given to me as a gift, and I would like to transfer it so it can earn interest. So I am eagerly awaiting this.
Yeah, and I'm very excited about it too. I've got some Bitcoin I want to move over to my Celsius account. I just recently did a little bit of Ether into my Celsius account, so it's nice to see in this case that to have different assets earning and stuff is always really cool within the wallet.
Anonymous says, can we export our private keys to our wallets? And I believe the short answer is no. Nick probably knows why.
Yeah. So you're 100% right on that, Hope. Unfortunately, anonymous attendee, we do not have that ability yet in that case. They're basically stored locally on your device. It's the way that the reason why is because the whole idea is to abstract really the need to manage a private key. We are looking to offer, like, for example, if someone's like, look, Nick, like, I love the interface that you guys have built to Digifox, but quite frankly, I know it's tedious. I want to manage my private keys. I want to be able to, for example, like not go through, using my phone and my email to recover my account. I just want to have a seed phrase or recovery phrase. In that case, we hear people, and we're going to work towards doing that in the interface. But for now, the whole idea of Digifox is to build something kind of for someone who's already advanced in crypto, but also someone who's just getting started, who doesn't have to go through that, who doesn't have to and doesn't want to go through that complexity. That's the whole idea of a smart wallet. It's just and the thing is, again, I want to emphasize, even though we don't have the feature to export your private keys, it's stored locally on your device, and we never see your private keys at Digifox. We have no access to your funds. That's the really cool thing. Like, we built this great interface, just like a lot of other crypto wallets, and we don't have any control over it in that case. Not to make that sound bad in that case, but the great thing about it is that you are your own bank, and that comes with responsibility, but it comes with a lot of great features as well. It lets you have absolute control and know exactly, either I can have my money sitting here and no one else is touching it, or I can put it to work at Celsius, I can put it to work at Compound, I can buy assets to Uniswap, etc.
Yeah, I remember when I first got Bitcoin, that was many, many years ago, probably right when it first started, but like my uncle gave me this piece of paper and was like, keep this in a safe place. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. He's like, put it in your safe. And I'm like, okay.
Imagine, Hope, for a moment, if you didn't put it in your safe, or like, you forgot the lock combination to it, or just whatever, right? Maybe it wasn't written down.
My brother lost his piece of paper.
Yeah, no, I've had it. Thank God I had it once with a wallet where I lost my paper note seed phrase. And that's the thing is, I've been doing YouTube and covering crypto for the last 3 or 4 years. I'm not embarrassed to say it. It's more a fact that, like, thank God I didn't have anything on it. It was maybe like a little bit left, or like some dust or something, like, like a few sats. But basically, the whole thing that's important to understand about that is that writing down a seed phrase, as secure as it can be if you do it all properly and you have it in like a firebox or locked somewhere where there's no risk of anything happening to it, and you're the only one who can get access to it. It's not always the most secure mechanism. There's a lot of wallets that don't mandate that you write down your seed phrase, and I don't blame them. Writing a seed phrase is a terrible way to introduce a new user who's like, wait, I just want to see what the app's doing. But it's a bad security flaw where if they don't write it down, they can lose everything. And that's the thing where, again, for us, it's the reason why over the last decade in crypto, we haven't scaled out as an industry. It's too complex for the end user. So that's why we're trying to redo things. Yeah.
Yeah. And in the end, I don't think any system is 100% risk-free, like 100%.
Precisely.
There's always a way that someone could get access to your funds. It's just a matter of how difficult it is.
Exactly. We've made it with our built-in kind of native two-factor authentication with using your phone and email. And then also we're going to be working on multi-factor authentication. It's going to be extremely difficult for anyone to be able to break into anyone's account. So we're very excited about that.
Kevin says, any chance of a university section where new people can learn how Digifox works and how it uses all the tokens and protocols? Would be great for new users to learn as we all share the app with our friends. Oh, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, Kevin, I think as I hope you kind of hinted to, we not only want the community tab to be kind of a social hub, a place where you can earn by participating in the challenges, but I know something that I think Jake's hit pretty big on. I think Chase as well was pretty big on this. Having like education is going to be a very key aspect. So, I mean, we're doing these webinars, we're doing social posts. We make the experience pretty simple as is, but I agree with you, Kevin. Like, I would love for people to have that ability to learn within the app, have all the content they need to learn about certain features or terminology that might be complex, and not just talk about crypto, but provide financial education as well. To have financial literacy and to learn about financial markets and break down all the supposed complexities of finance. I think it presents itself as being complex when in reality, a lot of it's simple principles that like people can learn with digestible content.
Yeah, definitely want to have like, as honestly, if I could snap my fingers and we had 100 blog posts and 100 videos, I would do that. And I'm excited for that day because I want to be able to have like all of that out on our social platforms and YouTube and our blog, and also like have a section that kind of has a how-to section of the app to show more people like how it works and just get them a little bit more familiar with it. That social aspect of it is going to really help too, because you guys, new users, will be able to ask, veteran Digifox users like how things work, and they can answer those questions for us basically, and like you guys can help each other, which would be really
exactly
really as well.
Yeah, I know we haven't talked about too much, but I'd love it to be where like you can earn badges and like
that'd be so cool.
People can like rate one another and say like, yeah, this user helped me learn about this, and like I think it'd be so cool. Like it's not only, again, as we've talked about, we try to do things that it's like it's great for us as a business because it allows people to help one another in this case, but outside of that as well, it really builds an ecosystem around Digifox, and that's what we've wanted to do from the get-go. So it really helps us meet our vision as well, which we're very excited about.
David says, hi Digifox team, is there any chance we will get a feature to see account history and how we might have performed in past trades and the value of our wallet? And we just talked about this, I think.
David, is coming very soon. We're working on our UX and swaps improvements. That's hopefully going to be coming out sometime in like early mid-October. We're not 100% certain on the official date, but things are going well on that. And a part of that is going to be your transaction activity. So that's not just your swaps, it's your deposits into Celsius.
Yep.
It's your payments. So if you sent money to Hope or I or another friend, you can always definitely, I'm just kidding.
But, I would not turn that down.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think any of us to turn out. If you want to send us some crypto, no. But all in all, in that case, like you're basically able to have a full list of your account activity, and we're working on like the different areas where you'll be able to see it. You can obviously always look at an individual asset and see the history of what you've done with like maybe USDC or ETH, but you'll have a full list of account activity. And also, as we've emphasized, we're going to have tax documentation free of charge to our users at the towards the tax season and stuff for the 2021 tax season and beyond, where users will be able to get their tax reports for free natively within the wallet, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Absolutely.
Looks like we have answered all the questions. So thus far.
Have I rambled enough today? Have I officially
No,
rambled
I
on
think
enough?
everyone could sit and listen to you forever, Nick. So we're good.
Well, thank you. It's been awesome just to get to chat back and forth. And I think, above all, we got some really good feedback points. I think that idea of, there was the feedback we took earlier from the challenges, in that case, working on presenting that a bit better. In that case,
yes, people understand that a little bit better.
Yeah. And some ways we can improve the challenge. If you guys ever have any feedback, again, like we got some great feedback just from you talking to you guys here today, and also some great questions. But if there's anything, if you have anything you need to ask us, feel free to let us know in the support chat. I saw Ian had just asked here, just as like one quick last question. He said, how do you know if you have Pro or not? Ian, the best way to actually tell is if you go into the profile tab in your wallet, and if you don't see a big banner at the top that says upgrade to digifox Pro, you're good to go. Or if you hit the swap button, if you're allowed to swap and you see the list of tokens and you try to trade one, then in that case, you're good to go in that case.
Yep. Mark just asked the digifox question, the digifox webinar question of every webinar that we ever do. How about creating a digifox token?
Yeah, so Mark, we've gotten this asked a lot. As Hope kind of joked to and stuff. It's so true that we get this asked at every webinar. I will give you.
Thanks for asking, because it wouldn't be a webinar if we didn't get this question.
Exactly. Is it a real digifox webinar unless you get asked about the token? Yeah. So I'll go ahead and give you the most clear answer I can, Mark. We do not have anything officially set in stone and stuff. We would never shoot out the idea of possibly doing a token, but we want to make sure above all that if we do issue a digifox token, that it's not rushed, that it's properly done for the community, and that above all and stuff, it helps out our users and our ecosystem above all.
Yeah.
So we're definitely like, we're looking, because we as a company and stuff, we're always, as you expand and stuff as a startup, you have to raise capital, but we'll let you guys know in the ecosystem if we decide to launch one. And we're excited for the future. We'll see what happens.
Oh, Jurgen says, I wish you all the best for digifox and the future. Quality project and quality people. Oh,
Jurgen, that's very nice. Thank you very much. And awesome. Thank you for the question as well, Mark. But guys, it's been wonderful to have this conversation today. I appreciate you all joining in for the topics we discussed, the Invest in Yourself challenge, and also just asking some great questions. It's the best way for us to engage. I mean, we like the customer support chat. We love seeing like people interact on social media, but there's nothing better than just being able to kind of have a set time to just have this kind of conversation.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for being here, Nick. It's always a pleasure having you on. And taking time out of your super busy schedule. I know how busy it is, to chat with everybody. I am going to I'm recording this one. I'll record a one on Monday, and whichever one turned out better, we'll post that one to YouTube more than likely, so that you guys can rewatch it or share it with people who weren't able to be here and watch it. Maybe it's like midnight their time or something. But yeah, and if you guys have any other questions, reach out to us on the customer support channel in app or at digifox.finance. But other than that, I believe we will see you guys next time.
Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
All right, take care.